All right, today we're going to tackle a question that seems super simple on the surface, but it actually hides a really deep quantum mystery. How do we describe a particle's spin? So get ready for a journey that's going to challenge your intuition and hopefully show you the beautiful logic of the quantum world. Let's dive in.
You see, no matter how you measure a particle's spin, you're only ever going to get one of two answers, up or down. It's like a cosmic light switch. It's either on or off. But here's the real head-scratcher that's going to drive this whole explainer. Is the reality of that spin, before we even look at it, really that simple?
So we've got this disconnect, right? On one hand, our measurements give us a simple yes or no answer. But on the other hand, to truly get what's going on with the particle before we measure it, we need a way to describe a spin that could be pointing in literally any direction. So how in the world do we square that circle? Okay, so let's try to figure this out. We'll start with what feels most intuitive, a geometric approach. Imagine you've got a set of dials that control the spin's direction. The question is, how many of those dials do we actually need to pinpoint any possible orientation in space? Just picture a sphere. And right at its very center, there's a little arrow. And that arrow represents our particle's spin. Now, this arrow can point to any spot on the surface of that sphere. So our whole goal here is to figure out how many numbers do we need to perfectly describe exactly where that arrow is pointing. Well, think about it this way. How do we find any spot on Earth? We just need two numbers, right? Latitude and longitude. With just those two, we can specify any location on the entire planet. And it turns out the exact same principle applies here. To define a direction in 3D space, all you need are two angles. So from a purely geometric point of view, the answer seems pretty simple. 2. It kind of feels like we've solved our puzzle already. But, and this is a big but, we're in the quantum world now, and things are rarely that simple. It's time to see what the math has to say. All right, let's switch gears. We're going to come at this from a completely different angle now, using the actual language of quantum mechanics itself. And this is where our simple picture gets a whole lot weirder, because the math seems to tell us something totally different. In quantum mechanics, any spin state is basically a mix, a recipe that's part up and part down. The specific amounts in that mix are determined by two numbers. We'll call them alpha up and alpha down. But here's the real twist. These aren't your everyday numbers. They're complex numbers, which means each one is actually made up of two separate parts. Okay, and this is exactly where the plot thickens. Since each of those complex numbers needs two real numbers to define it, and we have two of these complex numbers, well, 2 times 2 is 4. The math is telling us we need a total of 4 real numbers to fully describe the spin state. And just like that, our simple picture just got twice as complicated. So wait a minute, we have a problem here, right? A real contradiction. Our intuition, our geometry, it tells us the answer is 2. But the fundamental math of the quantum world seems to be screaming at us that the answer is 4. This right here, this is the heart of the mystery. How on earth can both of these be right? Well, as we're about to find out, the secret is in these, well, let's call them hidden rules that connect the weirdness of the math to the reality of the physical world. And here's the key. We might start with 4 numbers, but they aren't all free to just be whatever they want. Nope, they're actually tied together by some really fundamental rules of the universe. Not every mathematical possibility describes something that can actually exist. The first rule is something called normalization, and it's pretty intuitive, actually. Think of it this way. If you measure the spin, there might be a 70% chance you get up. If that's true, there has to be a 30% chance you get down. The probabilities have to, add up to 100%. That simple fact locks our 4 parameters together and means one of them isn't really independent after all. And just like that, with that one simple rule, we've knocked one of our parameters off the list. So we've gone from 4 down to 3. We're getting closer to the 2 our intuition told us, but we're not quite there yet. There must be one more hidden rule we're missing. And here it is, the final piece of the puzzle. And it's a bit of a weird one. It's called phase indifference. It's a strange but totally fundamental idea in quantum mechanics. You can basically take the entire mathematical description of the state and sort of rotate it, and it doesn't change a single thing about what you'd actually measure. This means there's a kind of repetition in our description, so we can throw out one more parameter without losing any real information. And boom, there it is. We started with 4 parameters from the math. We took one away because probabilities have to add up to 100%. Then we took away another one because of this weird phase indifference. And what are we left with? 2. The math and the geometry, they finally agree. The answer is 2. Okay, so now that we've solved the big mystery, let's get practical for a second. How do physicists actually work with this stuff to, make predictions and build things like quantum computers?
Well, to do any real math, these abstract ideas of up and down states get turned into something super simple and incredibly powerful, columns of numbers.
These are the standard ways to write them down. A pure spin-up state is just the column with a 1 on top and a 0 on the bottom. And a pure spin-down is the opposite, 0 on top, 1 on the bottom. And believe it or not, these two simple building blocks are all you need to construct any possible spin state you can imagine. So great, we figured out why it's 2 and not 4. But you might be asking, so what? Why does this little mathematical detail actually matter in the grand scheme of things? What's the big takeaway here?
Well, for one, it's just beautiful, isn't it? It shows the sheer elegance of quantum mechanics. With just 2 little numbers, we can describe an infinite number of possible orientations. It also shows us that the rules of quantum math aren't just abstract nonsense. They're deeply, deeply connected to how the universe actually works. And finally, these ideas we've been talking about today, they're not just for spin. They're the basic foundation for describing pretty much everything in the quantum world.
And that leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending thought to chew on. We started with a physical idea, right? A spinning particle. And we found that its most complete, most true description isn't a picture. It isn't an object. It's an abstract mathematical vector that lives in a complex space. So what does it really mean about our universe if the truest language we have for describing reality is pure math?